Could a giant ape be lurking in the forests? And no, we're not talking about King Kong. We're talking about a creature you probably have never heard of, the Gigantopithecus. But what's a Gigantopithecus? Could the Gigantopithecus still exist? And if it did, how would it change our wildlife? In the early 20th century, a Chinese farmer reported sighting a large, ape-like creature in the mountains. It became known as the Bigfoot of China, and the description sounded a lot like a long-extinct primate, the Gigantopithecus. But if the Gigantopithecus had survived the extinction event, which killed off many of the plant and animal species on Earth, then we definitely know about it. In fact, if the Gigantopithecus was still roaming our forests, the legend of Bigfoot might never have existed. But how can one animal have such a huge impact? These nightmarish forest dwellers were actually giant apes, kind of like land-dwelling gorillas, but they evolved for life in the forest. Their anatomy made them dangerous predators. Imagine an ape monster with the powerful jaws of a bear, massive teeth, and a height of 10 feet. And they could weigh as much as 1,100 pounds. They basically ate anything they wanted. No deer, bears, monkeys, or even other apes were safe. Fossils from this species have been found in Asia, including China, evidence that these ape kings dominated the forests in the Pleistocene period. But they weren't all so ferocious, with some species being as small as 6 feet tall. Then how did they become so terrifying? Their ancestors were more like the orangutans living in Borneo today. Around 2 million years ago, these apes would have ventured into the forest for food. At first, they stayed close to the edge of the forest. But as they evolved, they started to make the deep forest their home. The evolution of their powerful jaws made them skilled and efficient hunters, helping them move further away from the edge. They also remained close to the ground because, like gorillas and chimpanzees, they were primarily terrestrial. It only took around 1 million years for the Gigantopithecus to evolve. If this species were alive today, it would completely alter our forests. Much of the forest life we know today probably wouldn't exist with the Gigantopithecus inhabiting our forests. They just wouldn't have stood a chance against this mighty foe. Instead, the animals in our forests would look and act much differently than they do today. They would have adapted special traits and methods to avoid the Gigantopithecus. One ecological theory is that predators actually drive evolution because they force prey to adapt, and quickly. In fact, a recent study found that the diversity of forest creatures over the past millions of years is directly tied to interactions between predator and prey. So our forests might actually be even more diverse if the Gigantopithecus still existed. But what about us? Well, this giant ape would make the forests a much more dangerous place for humans. We would need much better protection. Hiking and camping in the forest would be much more dangerous, as the Gigantopithecus would likely view humans as potential prey. Hunting and logging would also be much more difficult, as the Gigantopithecus would likely defend its territory aggressively. And perhaps the stories of Bigfoot would be about a menacing Gigantopithecus instead of an unknown creature. Thankfully, Gigantopithecus does not exist today, and that's probably a good thing.